Morning and good welcome to everybody. This is Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator. I am Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator. Now you've seen the thumbnail and you're probably a little bit intrigued. Today I am trying out, I've been sent a sample. I've been sent 3 sample tins of the Paint and Paper Library paint. Can you see me? Are we focused? And this is the Paint and this is the Paint and Paper Library Architects Eggshell, and the colour is Lady Charlene's Lilac. So we've got a nice, I've got the paint out, pinky lilac-y colour. I've already got it ready to go so we're not wasting time. And I am going to be trying it out on Doris the Door. Doris the Door, as you know, has had loads of paint on over the years and it's been well sanded down. And what I've done to prepare it, dusted off, and I've gone over with a tack rag. Anybody who wants to purchase a tack rag or a duster brush, please look in the description below to my Amazon store and support the channel by purchasing something from there. Anything that's purchased there, it isn't the companies that are giving me any percentage, it is Amazon. So if you know about associate links with Amazon, you know all about it. Please support the channel. Right, got that out of the way. As you know, I'm not sponsored, I'm not endorsed by anybody, you know what I mean. These are just samples that I picked up from Amy. Now, if you look in that corner there, I met Amy, who is the, let's call it, she's lovely, really nice. She's the rep for Bradite, Little Green, and the Paint and Paper Library companies. So she's the representative that spoke to me at the Brewers event, which is in that corner. Please have a look at that there. And she says, Phil, if you've not tried this paint, because we spoke about it at the event, she said she'll send me some samples, and she has done. She sent me 3 samples. I've got 750 mils of the eggshell, I've got the satin, and I've got the gloss. Now, over the next coming weeks, you will see me trying these paints on Doris the Door, and I'll just give my honest thoughts on it. I have some high expectations because if this is coming under the brolly of Bradite, Bradite's a really nice paint. They do the Bradite 1 can, which I've used a number of times now and find it very, very nice to work with. Likewise, Little Green, you've heard of Little Green. That's another very good paint, and I have got some samples of Little Green to try later on as well. So they're all in the future. But for now, we're looking at the Architects Eggshell in this pinky lilac-y colour. Now, what do you want to know about this paint? Right, if you've not heard of Paint and Paper Library, this is a company that was set up by David Oliver, who was in London. He's a well-known interior designer, and he designed his own paints. Let's just keep it simple. Designed some paints with his own Pacific colours, and this is where it's all been. Born from. Now, Bradite's got it, and Little Green, and they look after this company. So you've got a powerhouse behind it, shall I say, a powerhouse. You may be thinking of this as more of a fashionable architect sort of specified paint. You probably won't be far wrong, but I'm a professional painter and decorator. I've not come across this paint before. I'm going to give you an honest review on what it's like on a panel door, doing my mouldings, doing my panels, bringing the styles, bringing in mullions down and styles and bits and pieces, and I'll give you my honest thoughts on it, because yes, this is a sample, but I'm not sponsored by anybody. Nobody's giving me any money. Nobody's telling me to say how good it is, but fingers crossed it will be. Right, what do you want to know about this? It's an interior exterior paint. You can use it on your woodwork, you can use it on metalwork, you can use it on your radiators. If you want to use it on your walls, you can do. It's an eggshell finish. This is roughly pitching at a 10 to 20% sheen level. So it's a pleasant level of sheen without going to a flat finish, without going to that more of a, like a soft sheen vinyl silk, which would be 30, 40, 50%. And obviously glosses are a little bit higher. But where else can you use this? It can actually be used in areas of high condensation. So if you've got bathrooms, if you've got kitchens, you can actually use it on your woodwork and your walls there as well. It is water based, clean with water, lukewarm water, a little bit of washing up liquid in it helps to wash your brushes out. And I'm going to say, drying time look around about the 4-hour mark. Now I'm going to get a coat on this morning. I'm going to come back this afternoon like I would do in a job, and I'm going to see if I can actually get a second coat on. So I'm not going to bore you with doing second coats and everything. I'll get this first coat on. I'll give you some feedback on what it's actually like, and then what we'll do is come back to it, and we will then see what the finished coat is and whether it's leveled out and actually flowed out nicely. I don't think there's much more to say about this. This is one of these, I don't want to say it as an MSP multi-surface paint, but it is a self-priming, self-undercoating, a little bit like what the little green paints are going now. The intelligent eggshells of the little green, we'll come on to that on another video, but a lot of paints now are a bit of a multi-surface paint. Now this is no exception. They do an all-surface primer that if you have got bare surfaces or suspect surfaces that you do want to give that belt and braces build up to, you can do. But I would say if you are using this as your undercoat, no problem. If you are using it as a primer over bare surfaces, or if you've got areas of wood on a door that you've probably sanded down to the bare areas of MDF, what I would say to you as a professional, probably you might want to put a little bit of water to it to ease it down, to make it soak into the surface. But once you've got it soaked in, you can go with a full coat of this as your undercoat, as your top coat. So the plan is, Doris the Door isn't a porous surface. This is a bit of a deepish colour. I'm going to expect this for going for 2 coats. It shouldn't need any more than that. So let's get the brush out and let's get the paint going, and let's just see what it's like on these panels and on these mouldings, and obviously on the main sets of the door. Right, just move the camera around. Got my paint kettle. I'm going to be working from one side of the kettle because that's the professional way of doing it. You don't work off both sides of the kettle, you work off one side, and then when you want to rest your brush you can do like that, meaning that the side that is clean, you don't get paint all over your handles. I'm not a decorator that gets covered in paint, so because I is a professional. So one side of the kettle I'm working from, and I'm going with the Maverick brush. I've been using the Series S brushes recently, which are the very nice, I'll reach over there. That's the Series S Maverick brush. Clearly that's a 2.5 inch. This is a bit smaller. This is more on the line of 2 inch, but this is the Series X. Slightly different. You can see it's a rounded ferrule oval. Goes to a tip there. Quite narrow. But this should not be any problem for coating up a door with. Let's see. The handle is a little bit shaped. You can see the difference there. So we'll see how we go. We'll see how we go. If we don't like it, something else I'll tell you about. Right, if you don't know about painting a door, do your mouldings, do your panel, work your way along, and then come to the rest of it. Yeah, we'll see. Right, let's see what this paint's like. Brush is very nice. It's holding the paint quite well. I'm just having a feel for it first. Never ever used this paint before. I have to say this bristle on this brush so far is quite a firm bristle. It's probably a lot firmer than what the Series S is. I'm just playing about with it at the moment, just feeling it. Going around the sides, doing the mouldings, coming to the panel. Opacity seems fine. I'd expect this colour to be covering well. Just laying it off all the way around. Tips of the bristles, don't put any more paint on. Just wipe that fatty edge down on the side, because that's the edge that's going to dry off on you. When you come back to that, it's not going to give you any problems. Right, so far so good. That's gone on quite nicely. I've got a bristle, just a little hair there. Hair today, gone tomorrow. Right, let's try the next panel. As I said earlier, Doris has been sanded down, dusted off, and a tack rag over it, so we've got no contamination. I'm just having to play with this paint, just seeing what it's like. I'm just probably over brushing more than I would normally. I'm just feeling it. Paint's got a nice smell to it. Tips of the bristles, laying it all off. Wipe your brush down. Knock off that fatty edge. That'll dry off. No need to be taping around the mouldings. Not if you know what you're doing, there's no need. And I will be coming back again. That's not too bad. Let's move the camera. So far so good. It feels a thickish paint. It doesn't feel too thin. Opacity is not bad. A little bit grinny, but I would expect that on that first coat, and using a brush that's just a little bit scratchy, not too much, a little bit scratchy over the white, but again, it's the first coat, it doesn't really matter. I'm interested to see what the finish sheen level's like at that 10 to 20%. As I've just been saying, you can use this on your radiators, you can use it on your woodwork, you can use it on walls, ceilings if you so required. Trying to lay it off nicely. Don't play about with it too much, it is water based. That opacity is pretty good. Right, I'm going to carry on. I'll show you what the door's like when it's all coated up, and then I'll come back later, get it a second coat on, and then we'll have a look at what the actual finish is like. Hopefully, pretty good. Got to be honest, don't call me Honest John for nothing. Application wise, that went on lovely. I think if you know what you're doing with water-based paints and applying paints, you're not going to have any problem putting quality paints on. This is a quality paint. I'd just be mindful that if you have got any wet edges, don't leave anything fatty. I was saying about knocking fatty edges off, but to be fair, this paint has actually blended in round the mouldings quite nicely to feather back in. Now this is only the first coat, so it's not going to be too much of an issue if anything's showed as a bit of flashing, but this is where I will actually tell you when I come to the second coat whether any areas flash or whether any brush marks float out and you can still see it. If you know what I'm talking about, give us some comments below, because as you go down the styles, styles are on the side, latch rail and things like that, when you're feathering back in and actually blending out, sometimes it flashes and shows like it's still a wet brush going over a dry surface, more so with oil-based paints, but it is a characteristic that some paints, water-based paints, can actually still show when you're trying to feather out and lay back off. But so far so good. This is actually applied really nicely. It's taken me about 10 minutes to paint a door. It doesn't take me very long. That first section there, do you know what? That's wet. That is dry. I'm quite warm in here. We've got a nice summer's day outside, so the environment's quite warm. But that is drying off nicely. There won't be any issues coming back after 4 hours to give that another coat. I will say that brush, that Series X, very nice to apply. That oval shape, lovely, holds plenty of paint. I can get it on and lay off. Those soft bristles are very beneficial when you're using water-based paints. Now, going back to the paint and paper library paint, it can be brushed, it can be rolled, and you can also spray. So if you are into spraying, this is a paint that can be sprayed. But so far so good. I'm going to go and wash that brush out, and I'm going to see what it's like in a few hours. But in the meantime, just out of interest, you know, you've probably seen previous videos. I'm going to point there. I've been testing paints out on what they're actually adhesion properties like on a tile. Now, I know this isn't a grip primer or a paint that's promoting itself as something that would go over tiles, but I'm just going to get a brush full of paint and I'm going to put over this tile a coat of paint, Then later on, I'm going to give it 2 coats of paint. I'll tape it off like I normally do, slay it off, not putting it on too heavy. And we will see what this is like as a bit of a scratch test later on. So that's 1 coat on there. I'm not holding my breath. It's not a paint that's geared up for tiles, but it's just be interesting to see what it's gripping like on a tile like that. This tile was only cleaned down with some methylated spirit, so there's no finger grease on it or anything like that. It's just cleaned down with meths, and I've just gave it a nice little coat, nothing too heavy, of 1 coat of that eggshell, that Architects Eggshell, that's supposed to go over everything. We'll see. Catch you later. Catch you this afternoon. Okay, we're at the end of the day. We're looking at this Paint and Paper Library paint. What a lovely colour that is. That Lady Charlene's Lilac, got that pinky cast to it. Application wise, let's have a look. Application went on fine. Opacity, and there's a difference between opacity and coverage. Opacity is to do with the see-throughness of it. So when people talk about coverage, they're probably more than likely talking about opacity, but coverage is the set amount of paint, like, I don't know, 100 millimeters doing a big wall. That would be your coverage. But opacity is whether a paint actually has the body to it to actually cover, i.e. Obliterate something showing through on the surface. Being this sort of colour, we're not going to have any problem with opacity. But looking at the door, I was saying about what it was going to be like for brushing and feathering back in and showing flashing. I'm not seeing anything. So you've got your moulding, you've got your panel, and you've got your top rail, you've got your munting rails. These are your munting rails, and the cross middle rails. These are your stiles either side. So when you bring your mouldings round and you bring your panel in, both sides, then you do all top to bottom, you come then to fill in the areas a munting rail. And then how I do it, I bring the top rails, mid rails. If you were doing it textbook, you'd do all your munting rails and then come back to your top rail, mid rail, middle latch rail and bottom rail, and then bring your stiles in. Once you get into knowing how to do painting, you'll work it quickly to keep the wet edge going. That's why I do it like I do it. But that munting rail and that cross rail there, I'm not seeing any feathering back into it, and it's showing as flashing. The actual finish has flowed out. It's not, there's no flashing whatsoever. And I know we're going to be looking at this being an eggshell finish with a 10 to 20% sheen level, but you can still get bits of flashing, particularly if a paint's drying off too quick on you. This paint didn't dry off on me too quickly. It applied nicely. There is quite a thickness to it. It doesn't feel like you're putting on a thin paint. Some of the paints that I do test are a little bit too thin. Sometimes they feel a little bit too thick. That, as a paint in general, was an all-round nice paint to apply. Now, I'm going to insert some prices just there, because depending on when you watch this, will depend on what prices are on the internet. But those prices there, for a 750, a 250 and a 5 litre. That's the prices currently at the time of filming this in the mid 2025, halfway through the summer. So we've got a 250 price. Sorry, we've got, let's get that right. We've got a 750 price. We've got a 200. Let's get this right again. We've got a 750, we've got a 2.5 litre, and we've got a 5 litre price just there. What do you think of those prices compared to what you're using at the minute? I always say, don't look at price of paint, because the price of materials on a paint are very small compared to the price of what the overall labour is on the job. Now, I'm going to say, would I use that paint again? If I came across that paint that I was going to be using it, I'd have no issues there whatsoever. Probably the question mark would be going out looking to find that paint to actually go and get it. Is it readily available to buy? But if you do come across it, don't be frightened, and that's why you're watching this video. Don't be frightened to think, what is this paint? Is it any good? You've searched it up, you've looked on the internet, you've come onto YouTube and you found me, and I am actually giving that a thumbs up. Let's give it a thumbs up. put a little emoji thumbs up. That is actually a nice paint to apply. It's a nice paint for a finish. The colours are good. I would like to try this in their whites. They're colours that are a little bit probably more problematic to other paint brands for getting opacity for covering. So if I was doing this coloured door and going over it with a white or a light colour, I'd like to see what the opacity is for going over that and covering that lilac-y pink with 2 coats. Because this paint is one of those MSPs. It is self-priming, it's the self-undercoating, and it is the top coat. But it is nice to be applying a paint that's a quality paint that you're getting away with 2 coats. I'm not having to do that undercoat and 2 top coat system. I'm actually being able to do 2 coats of paint, and the opacity has covered lovely. Finish wise, I'm liking it. I'm liking that colour, and that's probably where David Oliver made up his paint palette. That's why he's picked these colours. This is why he's devised it, he's put it together. And this is the Architects Eggshell. This is the one that will be suitable for your bathrooms and kitchens. What I'm not reading on the internet is anything about the saponification, you know, where fingers touch it, and water-based paints are a little bit notorious for going soft and cheesy. That is what the saponification is when you're talking about finger grease oils on surfaces, and particularly with water-based paints. I'm not totally 100% knowledgeable, or somebody give us some comments below. Is this paint suitable for high traffic areas like null posts and handrails, and particularly doors if people are grabbing it? I would say it probably is, with this being a quality paint and with this being under the brolly of Bradite and Little Green. I would think there's a bit of paint technology between those different manufacturing brands that probably already in this paint and paper library paint. So I would probably say more than likely this will be resistant to hand and finger grease. But if you've got different views on it, if you know something that I don't, please give us some comments below. So all in all, yes, very nice paint. I will be testing out the satins and the glosses in the future. If you're watching these videos at the end, please, if you're watching the videos that are coming up at the end, thank you very much. That helps the channel. So again, people who are giving me super thanks, people who are buying me a coffee, thank you very much. It all helps to support the channel. And if you are giving me a thumbs up and subscribed, I'll give you a kiss. Thank you very much. What do you think of this paint? Have you come across it? Have you seen it? Have you tried it? What did you think to what my review is? I've liked it. It's a good paint.